Hey, hi, we're recording.
Whoa.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Hey.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Wasn't that a piece of pizza that was cruising? Like, was it pizza and soda?
I think it was like a hamburger and a hot dog
and a popcorn box. Yes.
Yeah.
Kids, for those of you that don't know, there were these things called drive-ins back in the day and movie theaters.
And then these things called cereals in the front.
Cereals. What were those?
That's right.
Oh, cereals. Are you Googling?
No.
What are Wait. What are cereals in the front?
That's what they called the shorts in the front. They were cereals.
Yeah, cereals. Bumpers is later another term, you know.
Right.
At drive-ins?
Yeah.
I never heard that term. I'm learning something new.
Dancing food, you know.
Yep.
Simulated sex scene.
Okay. So I know, like, we have a bumper, like we got bumpers in front, but a cereal. That's what they called those things back in the day, with a C or an S. Cereal, like
S. I think it was actually SERIAL.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, get that straight, Steve.
No, well, these are terms. When I hear a word I don't know, I didn't know.
As tasty as the other cereal, for sure.
Or as in a number. That's another pronunciation. Spelling. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well. See, kids, you're learning something on the Big Bottom.
Learn something on the Big Bottom. This was your virtual learning for the day?
Steve, are you drinking the coffee?
Dude, I did. Well, it's empty now, but during the podcast,
Donnybrook coffee.
I drank the whole thing. It was.
I have my
so good
coffee maker already prepped for tomorrow with some Donnybrook in it.
Oh, yeah, it's great coffee. So, so again, this is Big Bottom Crew, Steve Arajo.
John Moody?
Tony Paleo.
And who did we have this week on the show?
Mr. Bryan Beller.
Incredible, talented, ridiculous. So good.
And I like how we got cerebral and, talked about the current events in a different kind of way, in a unique way.
Yeah.
That was interesting. We don't normally get serious because we're not always the most serious group of people. But that was interesting.
True.
But it's nice to hear. I mean, this is real. It's real reaction to events that are happening. So I think it's it was good. It's like, oh, all right, So and it seemed like he was very transparent and very honest, which I know all of us. We all try to do that and be that. So.
Nice to see it on the side of an artist,
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and especially with like professional musicians just took a hit, huge hit.
That's putting it mildly. Still,
very mildly. So yeah, it's we can only cross the fingers that stuff gets better. So anyway, it was.
So to our bass player friends that are all into the gear and all that stuff, we don't get into that.
Not a bunch on this one.
Yeah, not a bunch. There's a lot of Bryan stuff that's out there, but we get into it a little bit later. We talk a little bit about recording and so forth. But just enjoy the podcast.
Yeah, right? And also Donnybrook Coffee. That's one of our sponsors. I know we talked about it. Let's mention them. Right. I put a little graphic and Donnybrook, but. Check them out. Fantastic stuff. Yeah. And how are you gents holding out? You guys doing well? You guys look great?
Yeah, doing good.
Yeah, I'm trying.
We're all trying.
Pre-production for my record,
Nice. Very cool.
I have an audition on Saturday. So
great. Nail it, John. You're gonna kill it.
It's funny because I've been like years ago. I'm sure you guys would all know, you'd be sitting there and be like, oh, I'm going to kill it. It's going to be fine. And this one I'm sitting more be like, okay, so they're looking for someone that's a smoking bass player, does background vocals, and can rap a little bit. And I'm sitting there like starting to grade myself and saying, okay, I could do this. All right. I guess it really comes down to where do they set the priorities for each of those things?
Sure.
Is it one of those that you want an A+ bass player and a B background vocalist?
Yeah.
Do they want a background vocalist and a B bass player?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm gonna do it myself, so I'm happy with how I did.
Yeah.
And we'll leave the rest up to making sure I'm a
John,
good
that's a
fit.
good point. That's something that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing in a bigger pop band, well, they don't need the progressive guy on the 7-string bass, right? Nothing that there's anything wrong with
I
that at
thought
all.
about bringing the 7-string just to screw with them for the first 5 minutes.
Whoa. Yeah. That's funny. But it's a working band, 80s kind of thing.
Yeah, big time.
So I've done a bunch of that, and I am not a singer in any means, but I got a lot of gigs and kept a lot of gigs because I could sing a handful of tunes. My voice is not the crooner real singer. I can just do these character voices. So I was able to do the Blink 182, the freaking Adamant, and it was
nice.
It was passable. It worked, and I did some backgrounds, but at the same time, like you said, I mean, I'm C-level singer. I mean, I just am. I know, and I have so many friends that are bass players and just ridiculously good at singing. So, but it's just one of those things that, dude, you'll be fine. And
yeah,
C- singer, C-.
I'd give myself a solid B for backgrounds.
There you go.
You want me to do leads? No.
Well, you could probably pick a couple that actually suit that are like character voices. That's all I did. I was like, okay, if I can mimic this, I can go. But by any means, was it super Donny Hathaway, Stevie Wonder-esque?
I remember singing lead for like Stray Cat Strut and stuff like that way back in the day. I used to do that.
Yeah, Rock This Town was one of my jams.
Set 3.
Yeah, dude, exactly. No, but that's awesome. Okay, but John, what you have a bass there that we were going to talk about. Let's talk about that bass.
Oh, you want to talk about that bass real quick?
Yeah, why not? Let's talk about it because all of us have had different experiences with.
We'll put it this way: this is an M2000.
Yes.
Actually, I believe from the number on the neck, it was a 2012.
Nice. All right.
This neck is not.
Yeah. Did you know I sent that out to him, Tony?
I do. I saw the text. I'm aware.
Yeah. So
it's
roasted goodness. I love roasted.
Yeah, I like it.
And it's interesting because, roasting on the neck usually scoops the sound a little bit.
Yeah.
But given that, the MFDs usually are a little mid forward, it's almost like they really work together really, really well.
That's great. I have not tried or heard the M series with the roasted. Now my curiosity is piqued. Possibly.
Yeah, I'll have to get you some more audio files.
I find the high end, I mean, we all play a little bit different, but for my aggressive right hand, I notice that it mellows out the highs. Absolute highs. Just a touch.
Right. It feels like it brings the G string more in line with the rest of the strings. Nice.
That's fantastic. I'm glad. Are you going to use that for the audition?
I'm thinking so, yeah. I mean, the only issue is, what is it? We're doing Don't Stop Believing in E flat.
Ooh.
Actually, I found out easiest thing to do, and it's not too hard. Drop the E string to E flat, not D, to E flat. And it's not that hard to adjust your fingering because it's pretty close to the original.
Dude, that's pretty cool. I like it. Interesting.
So that's what I'll probably do. And so, yeah, if I get the gig, maybe it'll be one of those where I put a D-tuner on that just to save me a little time.
Nice. That's cool. And and the other thing about the roasted is they look fantastic.
It looks cool.
They look killer.
Yeah, they look beautiful. I'm getting more and more little lenient. Like the more I'm playing, I'm like, all right, they actually are pretty cool. So So yeah, and there's Tony's TP, and that's all roasted. Also,
the TP R5.
TP5.
Now is that, and then you do gloss, Tony.
I did gloss. The gloss darkens it up a little bit, and the next one, we made a decision to not gloss. We're going to use a satin finish.
Satin finish.
Nice.
That Pat Wilkins will be doing.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Woo.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad I got that out. And yeah, I'm glad you're trying that out. That's interesting.
Yeah, man.
I'd love to hear your opinion on it. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Right on. Well, I just wanted to ask about it.
Well, guys, enjoy Bryan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Enjoy Bryan.
Enjoy Bryan, guys. All right, let's I don't know what to say. Let's check out. Let's check off.
Sign off.
Let's sign off.
There you go.
And let's put cereal on the ends, not bumper.
Yeah. Let's watch Bryan Beller. Let's watch Bryan Beller.
Cereal.
Now I need my mask.
Cereal bumper.
Right.
Oh my God, Tony, sign us off there, brother. Brother.
We'll see you later. Enjoy Bryan Beller, episode 2-3.
2-3.
We'll see you guys. All right, we're stop recording.
Hold that story for a second. Hold that story.
Now tell us this story.
It's recording. It's good.
Boom.
Recording.
Oh, well then, hey, hi, everyone.
I think this is the Big Bottom Podcast, episode 23, correct?
I believe it's
Sure.
23. Yeah,
With the one and only Bryan Beller. He's down there for me.
he's right below me.
Yeah, actually, yep. He's down there.
I'm waving high, but my hand is lost in the clouds. There it is. Wow.
Is the eye of now? I don't watch these movies, but I did have to sit through them. Is the eye of Zorn behind that? That's fucking the fucking.
Is that the Dutch Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, that's it. The Tower movie. That's the fucking eye of Zorn. That's.
So, you know,
the
John and I are
Tower
very
movie.
geeky, and Steve is not. So,
Now-
you know.
I'm geeky.
The
I just don't.
Tower movie.
Yeah.
This is actually this backdrop is the backdrop to the cover of my most recent solo album.
Nice. Even
Sweet.
that's. I like that.
So
That's awesome.
I am nothing if not practical when it comes to promoting these things.
I love
Bryan,
it.
tell us the title of that record, please.
It's called Scenes from the Flood. It came out in September 2019.
All right.
And back on it now. The premise of the album was essentially that, and it focuses on an individual story, but the premise is that we go into our life's adventures filled with vim and vigor and optimism and purpose and with a vision and things to accomplish, and then life happens. And then not just life happens, but then a cataclysmic event happens, the kind of thing that only really happens like once or twice in your life. And then what does that do to your worldview? Does your optimism and your original plan survive the storm, which is the climactic track of the first half of the album? And basically it's kind of a question on human nature. I know it's not like really easy listening topics here or anything like that, but it starts off in a very optimistic place, and then you just kind of keep going down and down and down into this journey where things get more and more and more complicated. And then in the end, you just kind of have to figure out where you stand in all of this while human nature does human nature things. And we've seen a lot of that lately.
Yeah.
It's a difficult concept for me to kind of summarize in a minute, but having watched 2020, it was like, well, yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Got it. That's cool.
It's a
I
bit
think
of a
I know the concept of that topic, actually. I think a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think
it's when it comes to a concept album, it was a progressive double concept album, and I really wanted it to be about something big. I felt like it had been 11 years since I put out a solo album, and I wanted to see something big. It didn't really have that much to do with bass, other than making sure the bass was right for the song. Because my favorite prog bands have always been the more composition-oriented ones rather than the kind of muso ones. So like Pink Floyd is a huge prog band for me, because the songwriting and the vibe is always just so powerful. And yes, as well, just because their compositional aspect is always, I felt like, even though those guys can all play, it's really about all of them playing together in those crazy songs that they write. And I think, that separates them maybe from some other progressive bands who are a little bit more about just kind of like, we're all going to play technically now, but together.
Have you ever heard of Ostrich Tentacles?
I have, and I haven't gone deep into them, but I know that they're that they're deep into the scene. It's kind of to my discredit that I'm not as familiar with them as I should be.
Go down a rabbit hole. They're truly my favorite, and bass is like tertiary, like way down on the bottom of the list for those guys.
Yeah.
What's the name of the band again?
Composition. Ostrich Tentacles.
Ozrit. Ozret?
Ozric.
Oh, Ozric.
Osric.
Oh, Osric.
Osric. Boston accent. Come on, get
But
with
like
it.
every, you know, it's one of those words we use every day. You know, Ostrich.
Right. I use
Yes,
that.
I'll have a
the other
large
day.
Osric with the fries, please. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things that we all have had to grapple with in the last year, and I was spending a lot of time thinking about in 2017, 18, and 19 when I was demoing and writing the album, is that, okay, let's just say that, you have big plans, and then a bunch of stuff happens, and then, something really, really kind of earth-shattering happens to you. And you never really kind of look at life and human nature the same way again. But where does that leave you? Does that, you're gonna walk around and be like, well, that's it. I'm completely isolating and everything sucks. It's not really that. It's that somehow, even though the world is highly, highly imperfect, and trying to, I think that I think it will be endlessly frustrating to kind of go through life just thinking like everything is just the way that it should be, because it's not. Let's just face it, it's not. That's my view anyway. But then you get to the end point of that, and it's like, well, where am I in this? So where can I find a place to stand? Where can I find something fulfilling? Where can I find something that motivates me, that moves me, that brings me happiness, that gives me purpose in the middle of this maelstrom of energy that makes no sense at all and is, just capricious would be putting it mildly, would be the way that 6 or 7 billion humans behave on one single planet.
No, that makes sense.
I'm glad we had this little talk.
So everybody go
it's
buy that.
heavy. It's heavy, and I know for you, that's still like an ongoing thing, right? I mean,
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that involves is that human beings want to, almost by nature, believe in something big. Because it's all so confusing and complex. If someone comes along and says, "This is the answer," your brain starts to want to rewire to accept that, and it will start filtering out other things. In a day and age where digital communication is so prevalent and immediate, the way that groups of humans at the community level, the family level, or the society level can start to develop attitudes that change quickly and believe certain things is so much more rapid than it used to be. And after a while, there just starts to become this unreality, and it's easy to fall into that. But I think at some point you just kind of have to look at it all with a cold eye and go, does this really make sense? Everything fits into this box because this people or this person or these people are saying that it all makes sense because X. Is that really, really true? To not accept that is more complicated than it is to accept that, I think, in a lot of ways. But that's not the way that humans really want to behave. So as an individual, and I think also, especially as a creative artist, navigating that is tricky. And, sometimes something happens that just comes out of the blue, and one day your life is one way and the next day your life is completely different. Happens to everybody, right?
Life.
Yeah, that's it. It's like you can't even remember what it was like before that thing happened, whatever it was.
well, look what COVID did.
Yeah, look at this. Look at
That
and
curveball. My whole life went.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just me, but
But it permeates down to every level. It permeates down to the individual level in yourself, and then the next level up would be maybe in your romantic relationship, which is just 1-to-1, and then in your family, which is maybe the immediate family, 1-to-4, 1-to-5, and then maybe in your workplace environment, 1-to-10 or 20, or if it's a big company, a lot more, and then your community and your town, and then finally your state, your country, and then the highest level. All these concentric circles of reactions and interreactions to something like this are a lot for someone to try and just take in and make sense of it all. And the answer is sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. And then what do you do with that?
So based on that then, and since we're talking kind of higher level and theoretical and somewhat esoteric, where do you see everything happening 6 months from now? What do you predict in our little music community?
In the music community?
In general,
Well,
in your own words.
I'm out of the prediction business. A lot of things I thought I knew a few
You have an
years.
8-ball there. I see it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things I thought I knew a few years ago. I realized that I didn't know or had very, very, very wrong, and that's part of the reason why I wrote the album. Was my own reckoning with the things that I thought were true that were actually not. Were things that I thought that worked and were not. So I don't know what's coming, 3, 6, 9 months from now in a grand scale. But I know that human beings will continue to human being, and shit will continue to be fucked up and bullshit. and also there will be some cool things. There'll be some funny things. Everyone will have shared experiences we can all laugh at. There will be small tragedies. There will be big tragedies. These things are just endless. So I am going to continue to try, for me anyway, and try and find a place where I can be fulfilled and satisfied, and and interact with a circle of people who bring me happiness and joy, and not the other way around. I'm almost 50 years old, and you do get to choose. I think when you're in your 20s, you don't always realize that you do get to choose the people who you don't interact with.
Mm-hmm.
You just feel like you kind of have to interact with the whole world, but you don't.
Well,
you don't.
Well,
what would you think about the comment then? One of the mottos I learned after one of my big floods, so to speak, is you are the average of your 5 closest friends.
Disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the circumstances on how those friends became your friends are just they're endlessly randomized. I mean, there's some validity to it, I think, maybe, because you attract a certain kind of energy to you, and it's unlikely that they'll be completely 100% unlike you.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends on the individual too, because some people can jive with only people that believe in their beliefs, and some people can jive with people that are a lot more mixed, and so it really depends on the person too. So
welcome to 2020 on that one.
I'm not big on grand theories.
Yeah.
These days. But for the music business, I think that it's we can predict with some level of confidence that when enough people are vaccinated, mass gatherings will return. And I mean,
big time.
It's just people don't realize, or enough people don't realize, we were the first ones to get hit, and we will be the last ones to come back.
Yep.
You're in the live event business. No one's coming back later than us. So by the time we get back to doing what we're doing, it's over, and then we'll all move on from there. If things all somehow stumble forward in the right direction, then sometime in the fall, a majority of people will be vaccinated. And I'm already hearing, scuttlebutt in the industry at the big tours that everybody's looking at fall 2021, but nobody's guaranteeing anything. I mean, like, for example, I have tours that were postponed, from spring of 2020. And then, like, some of them were pushed back 9 months, 12 months. Everybody thought, wow, that's really conservative. And guess what? They're going to get pushed again. If you didn't push back 18 months, that wasn't enough.
I mean, there's always going to be the rumblings of, optimistic, because I talked to, some artists here and there. I was talking to one of our artists in Nashville, and he said that one of their big rehearsal venues where the big acts are actually, some acts are beginning to rehearse there for upcoming shows. But then again, it's like, it's optimistic. Who knows? Still, I mean,
when?
It could be happening
the summer?
Who knows? So right now, they're at least getting together and rehearsing. Optimistic again, hopeful, optimistic.
Optimistic.
So who knows? But better than nothing.
Everybody knows that being an independent musician is a tough hustle. I mean, just no one knows more than us.
Yeah.
Even under good circumstances, it's a tough hustle. No one owes you anything. No one's sitting there thinking you're some kind of essential service.
Yeah.
So when something like this happens and we all got knocked out, I mean, I think it's amazing that in the last congressional relief bill that there was $15 billion that was specifically earmarked for venues and agents. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know,
That's great.
Did you watch the hearing?
I didn't watch the hearing,
No,
but I heard
didn't do that one.
highlights. Yeah.
It was it was fascinating because, you know, with all the bullshit going on, there they were, you know, the hearing was chaired by some Republican senator from Kansas who was going on and on about venues in Lawrence. You know, and I think Liberty Hall is the venue in Lawrence, Kansas. You know, it's a big club. Everybody's played there. And Amy Klobuchar was going on about First Avenue in Minneapolis. And, you know, John Cornyn is going on about 6th Street in Austin. And I mean, you know, suddenly everybody was acting like, okay, yeah, we can just all get together and just do this. So there was a nice thing. Yeah. Like, you know, why can't we have more nice things? I mean, it's a question that no one's really able ever to answer, but that happened. But that happened at, look where it happened. It happened at like at the high venue level. Like, how did the aid actually get to musicians who were working?
Right.
You know, I mean, there was some unemployment, you know, independent contractor stuff that got to people, but not enough and not to most. And, you know, by the time this is over, you know, maybe they'll get this new thing happening in April, but generally we're all on our own, all trying to figure it out. And that's just part of life in the big city, right? Where we decided to be musicians. You know, we're not in the airline industry. We're not in the military. We're not in the government. We're not in some of these things that, you know, society. There's guardrails for these people. There's no real guardrails for us. But of course, that's kind of why we did this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
We knew what we were getting into.
Did we? Did we though?
You know, a lot of friends of mine said, well, why don't you try? I'm like, I don't know what else to do. Yeah, I could do some other things, but like, this is such a defined part. I just can't easily walk away.
Tony, did you go to college?
I did go to Berkeley and dropped out. And then I went to engineering school. So, you know. Smart.
You didn't pay full 4 years of tuition, unlike me.
Yeah, we were probably there. Oh God, what year did you go?
89 to 92.
Okay, I was there right before you. So, and 88. And I got a fight freshman year with a big German kid that would have kicked my butt if it didn't get separated. And do you remember back at that time, like the hardcore, like real jazzers would like make fun of like the little rock and roll kids, right?
Totally.
You know,
totally. Berkeley's like American Idol school now. They don't know what it was like.
It was brutal.
I know.
I was like this little, not built like I'm at all now. I was like this little skinny, long-haired guy. And then, you know, but I had a big mouth. And getting picked up by like these jazzers, and I got into it. And then I remember coming home on Thanksgiving break and told my dad, I want to go to engineering school, and I want to go to double E. I want to become a double E. I want to get electrical engineer. And he's like, yeah, sure. You want to do that? You want to leave music school? Okay, fine. No, whatever you want. You know, and that was the path. And then I just gig and studied with people.
Were you an EE?
I was. Yeah, I got a double E. Yeah. So forever. Took me forever, you know. So I just played in local bands and went on tour and played with Carly Simon and, you know, did these other shows and would come back and take some more classes. So.
Do you modify your own like preamps and shit like that just for fun?
None. Zero. None. I can solder pretty good. Yeah. But no, I don't get into that. I know enough to know the numbers and say, hey Kerry, can we do this? You know what I mean? You know, or behind a board, let's drop this you know what I mean? Like any musician, but no, I don't get it. I can do minor repair. Minor.
Solder is one of my favorite words with a New England accent, by the way.
That I have.
Solder.
Where now? Did you live in the dorms?
Only for a year. I lived in the main dorm in that fucking hovel, 150 Mass Ave, before they rebuilt it. I I mean, it's so nice now. Have you seen the dorms lately?
They're crazy. They're absolutely crazy.
I mean, wow. But, you know, back when we were there. So, yeah, I was there for a year and then I moved out. I lived on Symphony Road, you know, right across the street from Symphony Hall.
So I moved down by Studio TCB almost right around the corner from Fenway Park. I lived there for a little bit, you know.
Yep.
But I grew up
on the other side of the Fenway.
Yeah, I grew up like 10 miles away in Stoneham. Like, just, you know, I grew up close. Like, I am a Boston kid, so
yeah.
You know, I kept on driving home so much. My dad's like, just commute. You know,
I mean, it was ridiculous to spend all that money to kind of. I mean, I'm grateful. I have nothing but good things to say about Berkeley because I learned almost everything I know about really kind of getting to the professional level by being around other Berkeley musicians, teenagers, and especially the ones from Europe, who had the advantage of being in magnet high schools, of course, you know, which the American public school system didn't really do. You know, I mean, I was growing up and I was like trying to find a better way to get involved in school music, and there just wasn't any. There was nothing. And this was a good school district and a nice town and all that shit. And there just wasn't much going on. If I had been in like France or Germany or something like that, or Sweden, I would have been picked up into some kind of magnet school by 7th or 8th grade and would have been learning jazz theory and harmony and playing with other musicians of that caliber, you know, when I was much younger. Instead, I got to Berkeley thinking that I knew what I was doing. And then when I was 18 or 19, you know, got there and then saw the real people, you know, the cream of the crop from around the world. And I was like, whoa.
Your eyes go like this. You're like, whoa. And then they let you know they're the cream of the crop, hands down.
Yeah. So, but that was, you know, it was really good. It's just, you know, the idea is to learn as fast as you can and get out and then start gigging. You know, no one's going to give you a gig because you show them your Berkeley degree.
I'll never forget. I can't forget I wish I could remember the name of the professor for like the Theory 101 class. Getting on the table and sitting Indian style on the table and said, the only reason why you guys are here right now is because you're not out playing for a living. And that stuck in my head, you know, big time.
Have you spent any time in Nashville?
I've only been there a handful of times, actually.
I've been there.
You guys?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a very, very different scene. It's like I remember when I was in LA and I was working at SWR and I wasn't really playing full time. And when I was between ages 29 and 34, I was only playing part time. And I was already starting to get to be too old for certain gigs when I was 33. You know, they're scouting these bands, you know, to go out with the new artists, and they want the really hip 20-somethings. And then I moved to Nashville in 2005. I was 34, and I went from being too old to not being old enough.
Mm-hmm.
The people who had all the serious gigs in town were like 20 years older than me.
Yeah.
I was like, what's that about? So, I started working my way in there, although I never did really successfully work my way in there, because eventually I got the Steve Vai gig and then the metal band gig. And then after I got those gigs, I swear to God, my Nashville gig phone never rang again. Not once. Not one call. But in 2005 to 2007, I was kind of working my way in, and some old crusty dude goes to me, he goes, so I hear you went to Berkeley. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. He goes, well, didn't seem to hurt you any.
That's funny.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Right.
I think.
Crazy.
Those are
Good basketball stories, not all of which are appropriate for the podcast.
I mean, we've said many times this thing is unedited. I mean, Tony Palaio's on here, for God's sake. That's already at a PG-13 rating before
I don't
he
have an edit button, man. I don't. At this point in my life,
We shouldn't.
I don't.
Fuck it.
Don't care. Not worried. You know.
All right. Well, so an older country artist who shall remain nameless, on tour.
How old was he?
And on tour, and bus full of guys, and one of the guys is younger than the rest, and apparently he had a girlfriend, and he's on the road. They're talking a lot, and the guys are giving him a lot of shit, teasing him and everything, and the artist kind of caught wind of it, so he comes up to them and he goes, "Oh, why are you giving this boy so much hell?" And they go, "Oh, well, him over here, he's a little bit PW'd. He's talking to his girlfriend all the time. He's a little bit PW'd." And the artist, as the story goes, says, "Well, boys, last I checked, pussy was undefeated." I'm gonna just get flamed so hard for that, because there's
much worse has come out here. Much worse.
Bassists out there are just gonna be like, cancel this guy.
But that was not you saying it; was the artist. It was.
That's right. I was just relaying a story of one of my Nashville stories.
Yeah. You were just busting the.
I'll take it one step more. If they plan on canceling, fuck.
Here we go.
No. F them.
Yeah.
Screw it.
But I mean, I'm very, very progressive when it comes to politics and social policy and all the rest. So, it's like telling a story like that. I didn't think much of it 15 years ago when I first heard the story.
Yeah.
And now I tell it, I'm like, is that problematic? Like, is that problematic for me to have said that? I mean, it happened, and the artist was probably 70 years old in 2005.
Right.
It's a different time. People say different things back, so.
Yeah. What's really interesting, I think, is the way that you process information and conversations really does change over time. I mean, I can't believe that I'm going to be 50 years old this year. And on the other hand, I can't imagine what it would be like to be 30 again. I just, you're growing up in a world with a set of concepts, and then they shift slowly, but then really not so slowly. Suddenly you wake up and everything's different. It's something that you thought, and again, I'm back to the record now, something that I thought was a certain way really wasn't a certain way, or I didn't really look at it, there's just so much. Now I sound like, old man yelling at clouds, but there's just so much naivete.
Yeah.
Keep yelling.
There's so much naivete in the world. It's hard to even know where to begin.
Right.
To start unpacking it all. And then at the same time, not sounding like, well, just fuck all this. Because that's not really that's not what I'm trying to come off as. It's just,
Bryan,
there's just a lot that life has to show you, is what I've learned over the years.
Where did you grow up? Out here?
I grew up in New Jersey.
In Jersey, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. Back east. All right.
I grew up in suburban New Jersey, Westfield.
Okay.
Very, very nice town. Bedroom community for the professional class who commuted to New York City.
Wow.
And I found it very, very stifling. There was not really room for somebody like me there. If I had wanted to go to an Ivy League school, or I wanted to get into financial services or be a lawyer or some part of the professional class, there was a lot of opportunity. But to just want to be a musician, there was just no real box for it. And it was still of the era where it was kind of frowned upon, and generally that was just because parents were just scared that you weren't going to be able to make a living. It wasn't so much that they thought you were going to go off and join a satanic cult. It was like, how are you going to eat? So I ended up going to Boston, to Berklee College of Music, after that was over, after high school was over. And I spent 4 years in Boston, and then I went right to Los Angeles. And then as soon as I got to Los Angeles, I knew I was where I was supposed to be.
Nice.
It was like the West, the feeling of LA about how, it's really a choose your own adventure city. It doesn't have an institutional identity like New York and Chicago in St. Louis, in Boston. Its identity is constantly evolving, and that's because the people who are coming there are constantly evolving, leaving and going, and leaving and going, and coming. And so,
like the melting pot of.
Yeah, I felt like you're really free to be whoever the hell you want to be out here. And also, I'm a big fan of open spaces and big sky and mountains. And there's a way, if you want to live in the mountains, around New York City, where are you going to go? Like the Poconos, Port Jervis, Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Pennsylvania. You gotta get right kind of really far out there, and it's not really practical. Whereas here, you can be kind of close to the things you need to be close to, and it kind of feels like you're in the middle of nowhere, which is cool, and I like that a lot. So environmentally and also culturally, LA is the place for me.
By the way, I got to tell you, I just had a conversation with someone that said hi. Spencer says hi.
Oh, hi, Spencer.
Yeah, Spencer Lowe. Yeah. So.
Yep. Yeah. My little community.
Yeah. Good people.
We were literally just chatting before this, before the podcast, actually. So that's why my hair's still wet, because it was off in the shower before. Yeah. I was just talking to him. He's great. I'm so happy for the move that he's made into the role he's taken.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hey, I'm dependent on sunlight here, and the sun is going down. So give me a second where I can adjust the lighting.
All right, cool.
Hold on.
All right. Let me see the sky. Whoa.
Oh, he took off into the sky.
That's rad. I hear some music in the background. Do you guys hear any music in the background?
Have some sort of little like intermission. Is that what you're saying, Steve?
No, yeah, exactly. Put it right here.
Boop, 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 beep, 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 beep.
I'm not sure.
There it is. So
how much it helped, but I don't have.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah? Okay.
Brian, do you have a noise gate on that mic?
No.
Because it cuts off, and I hear music when you start talking. I hear music in the background.
Really? Hold on.
Oh, maybe it's just ambient sound. Maybe it's just That's better.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's all right. Yeah, there's just some ambient. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. It's all.
Yeah, I have it programmed so whenever I walk away from the microphone, it starts going da 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 da.
Beautiful.
Nice. So, speaking of all of this stuff, have you heard anything about going back to rehearsals or anything with the band, or is it just kind of? Yeah,
me?
Bryan. Yeah, Bryan. Yeah, no, huh?
Oh, not my world.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, but my main two gigs. First of all, the Aristocrats.
Mm-hmm.
Guthrie's over in the UK, so we're fucked.
Yeah.
Until this is all over. And as far as Joe Satriani is concerned, he's pretty conservative. I mean, he's not like trying to be like on the absolute first guy out. He wants to be safe. He feels responsible for the people he takes on the road.
Yeah.
And we're working on a studio recording. We're doing a remotely recorded album for Joe Satriani. It's the first time he's ever done that in terms of a Joe Satriani album.
Yeah.
In his entire career. So it's actually really exciting, and I look forward to it because I might, it's like everybody else. I have an opportunity to kind of like get the home studio, leveled up.
Right.
I don't have the most expensive setup or anything like that, but now I have a desk with 2 different machines and monitors and a little mixer and a little Apollo and all.
Kidding me? That's all you need.
Okay. Yeah.
I really don't need more than that, man.
No, I don't have like a gigantic rack of outboard gear or anything like that. I've got an Apollo. I use the 1073 console, mic pre-plug-in and the UA1176, and I have a clean channel and I have a dirty channel that goes through a dark glass Alpha Omega.
Nice.
And every once in a while I'll plug in the pedal board and do a weird thing, but not very often. And that's it.
You use the Unison? Use the Unison in? Unison?
Not even sure I know what you mean.
Oh, dude. Okay. So the Apollo, you plug straight in and you pull down on your console Apollo menu. Where you have your inserts. Those are just the regular things. But right above, it's this thing called Unison. And if you pick that, there's preamps and stuff that you can use that is literally like plugging into a 1076 and 1173. Try Unison. It'll blow your.
I mean, I have an older Apollo. I'm not even sure.
That's what, no. I think it'll probably work if you're going straight in. I mean, I have a twin, but
yeah,
if you're not using,
that's what I have.
Use the Unison. Trust me. Tim LaFay, he came and did a recording, and I was recording. He's like, dude, how are you recording this? And I said, dude, using the Unison. And he was like, whoa, it's there. Just trust me. It's literally like plugging right into whatever preamp. Not everything is available via Unison, but the things that are fucking amazing.
Cool.
So,
I'm getting darker. Hold on.
Oh, no, it's fine. I see you fine, and it'll
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to
the lobby. Yeah. Let's do it.
That's fine, man. Yeah.
I've got a weird lamp up here. I need to get one of those. Have you seen the little circle lights that everybody uses?
Oh yeah.
Or get some of these lights. These are cheap. There's like $79 for 2 of these things. That's
I mean, I have softbox lights, but not here. They're down, and the thing is that my desk faces the outside, so if you can't see this view that I have right now, but it's pretty astounding. It's great. It's this wide mountain vista. So the desk points here against the wall, and a big window, and I can't put the light behind it unless I rig up something crazy. Hopefully, this will work for the rest of the event here.
So let's get geeky for a second. You were telling us a little bit about the your recording setup for Joe's record. Using like a clean and dirty channel and the Alpha Omega. I didn't know that you were using the dark glass stuff. That's pretty cool, actually.
If my system wasn't so old, I could use the Neural DSP dark glass plugins, but I'm running Pro Tools 10 on a 2013 Mountain Lion Mac. And,
ooh.
Yeah. But you know what?
It works.
It does everything I need.
Right.
And yes, I've thought about doing the big upgrade and everything like that, but I wouldn't do it on that machine because that machine is where my solo album all lives. And if I was to upgrade it, the whole thing would go kablooey. You know how that goes. So I leave that alone, and I've been using it, and I'm just gonna keep. I'm not trying to run out and spend a bunch of money that I don't need to spend right now, frankly. But I know that there's there's nicer stuff out there. Anyway, a lot of times the mix engineer is the one who's going to make the determination on what the best bass sound is going to be. Just give them a DI. So you give them a clean DI, and then you give them a dirty channel if they want to use it, great. If they want to do something else, great. I don't care. I'm just there to provide the foundation for the song. Unless they're calling out some kind of really fancy sound, I'm generally not going for fancy sounds.
Well, I keep it simple too. I modified my setup from 3 lines to 2. And I used to like a mic's rig. I used to like miking the GK and so forth.
Yep.
I found a whole new setup, man. It's very simple as well. It's 2 lines. I'm using obviously I use the tube ready because I love the tube. I love that DI specifically. So out of my pedal board, always committing with compression, which I know is weird, but it's something I prefer. And then I use
input compression for bass. You have to have input compression.
I play like an idiot. My right hand's like really hard, so I need it. But a lot of guys don't use compression. They don't commit going in, but I do. I always use compression.
And I should have mentioned I have in front of everything a Neve RNDI.
Nice.
Oh,
so it's not
done tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not a. So I don't have the big, the big tube guy.
You don't need it, yeah.
But they're cool. I find same reason I don't go for mic caps, unless it's an actual studio recording where I'm playing with a band and it's something else. I'm always looking for the immediacy and the impact of the note. In today's digital recordings, especially remote recordings, that's the currency of the realm, I think. So I try not to complicate it with too much air around the note. At least on the way in.
I did find something that does do it though, that does simulate the mic thing really well that guitar players use all the time. And that's what I was gonna say. My second line is I took a GK head into the 2-note audio to act as like a DI load, so I can use an IR of a GK cabinet, and it nails the sound of my amp rig without having to use mics and lines, and is the room okay, you know? So
Yeah,
it's consistent.
that stuff works, and when you're at home, it does end up being about something that you can just rely on, as opposed to like event recording. Like when the Aristocrats went in the studio last time, I brought one. I can't stand recording in studios and monitoring bass. It's the worst thing in the world. It's like we're used to standing in front of these big cabinets when you play live. Suddenly, the drummer still gets to play his big loud drums. The guitarist rig still has their guitar rig there, but your bass rig can't be there because that'll ruin everything. And it doesn't feel the same. And I know that people have your little 12-inch combo that maybe you sit on, or some kind of rumble seat to give yourself that. And so anyway, because it's our band and I didn't give a shit, I brought my 810 rig to the studio and just set it up in the ISO booth. I didn't have it very loud, but it felt like I was standing in front of my rig. And so that was one channel. We liked that, but it also really affected the way that I played. And then there were two different TIs. There was a tube DI and a solid state DI. And then there was a post pedal board DI, which was just in case I decided to throw anything on, and I could be creative at any moment without having to kind of like reroute everything. And you could hear that there's that it was big. And then also there was this, there was a tiny bit of drum bleed with the guitar and a tiny bit of bass bleed to the drums. And there was a little bit of that kind of live band feeling, which was cool. You can still edit, even if like, I think people get a little too crazy about that. Like, it's like, oh my God.
I love that. I leave the bleed. I like it.
Yeah. If you could leave a little bit of that, you still got freedom to slice and dice if you really need to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. Yeah.
So yeah, and that was it's funny because it had been a while since I had gone the full, oh yeah, we're gonna make a cab and take 3 different lines and all the rest of that stuff. It did end up being cool and it did enhance it, but it's just kind of not practical in the COVID era, is it?
No, that's why I picked up a 2-line system so I can still make it sound like an amp and use a tube DI. I'm like, yay, this is good,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Are you using the new bass for a lot of the new stuff? The new model?
Well, it's funny. I do different things for recording than I do live sometimes. If I want the sound of that really kind of raw Mike Lowell active jazz, I can always reach for that. I've got my M5s. But I tend to use the Spectres when I'm recording, especially metal and hard heavy rock. The Spectre EMG thing just does a thing where it just kind of cuts through the mix and sits in a very specific spot. I can do that with my Michael BBM F5 as well. And I have a live recording with the Aristocrats where when I play live, that's what I want. Even if I want that sound, I still choose a Mike Lowell because they feel amazing to me. They're the best feeling instruments I've ever played.
Yes.
I love the Spectres, but they never feel completely 100% like comfortable because they always feel a little bit alien. The standard string spacing is too small, and then when you order a wide, it's just so big. Ideally there was something in between, and the Mike Lowell BBM F5 actually does that. It has a spacing that's in between those two sizes. It's
like 17 and a half or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's slightly smaller than your typical Mike Lowell 5, which is a standard 5-string spacing. And I think that the Spectre wide is actually bigger than that for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. But anyway, that's a specific studio thing. And I think that I'll do anything in a studio. I have a P-Bass. I even have a Zahn that used to belong to Doug Lunn, who is a great late bass player who used to play with Mike Keneally and the Fire Merchants. And so, I have a lot of different tools in the studio, but I found that when I go out live, I ended up taking 3 Mike Lowells. That's the way it's been for me for a long time. I take the M5, the Modern 5, which is the bright jazz bass with the maple fingerboard, maple top, ash body. And then I will take, for the dark chocolatey sound, I'll take the passive PJ, which is an alder body with a rosewood fingerboard. And that, I like the PJ because it gives you that kind of woolly P thing, but there's the definition of the J behind it. And when you get on it, it kind of breaks up a little bit, like the way that like the bass does on like Stevie Wonder, like, you know, Nathan Watts, like Songs in the Key of Life, you know, that thing, it just kind of just gets gnarly. And then for the really fast modern compressy thing, I'll use the BBM F5, which is essentially a Mike Lowell version of that kind of Spectre formula, but it's a bolt-on, of course, because it's a Mike Lowell, not a neck through, which means that I can set it up to my very, very, very specific exacting standards, which you can never really do with a neck through unless you get a magic instrument. And there's just no telling how those are going to go.
So the big blades are ceramic, and they're the Nordstrom big blades, and they feel like sort of like a big Alnico pickup and an EMG. They kind of get that weird sweet spot in between. It's like this.
Boop, boop. I know the big blades.
Love them.
I know Carrie. Carrie did a great thing for me. Well, first of all, when I was on my journey to try and there was a little while there for 2 or 3 years where, and Mike Lowell knew about it, and they couldn't have been cooler about it, about like watching me kind of go on a little bit of a tonal journey, where I got the Spectre neck throughs and I loved the way they sound, but I didn't like the way they felt. And then Spectre became very interested in trying to make a bolt-on that I would want to play, because obviously that was a thing that I enjoyed. And no matter what they did, their bolt-ons they didn't do it for me. But I had a bolt-on that we tried, oh my God, we must have tried 10 different pickups in them. And one of them was the big blades. And the big blades were super cool. I think they were my favorite out of all of them. Nice. And then we had a custom preamp that Carrie Nordstrom did. We were fucking with the EQ points and the preamp curve and everything. And I just couldn't get, after a while, you can't make an orange and apple, and we just gave up. But when I was done with that, I realized that I had this Ibanez, I think it's an SRX 535, which is like their Korean import 5-string. Mm-hmm. I got it from Jeff Carano, who owns a store in Poughkeepsie, New York, for nothing. The neck was so thrashed it wouldn't even make notes on parts of it, and then stock electronics were in it. But it had some kind of weird vibey thing. I couldn't really describe it. So I just picked it up, and I had the neck plecked, and then I actually used it for a couple songs on my album because I wanted a really lo-fi kind of shitty sounding with a pick, really thin thing, because that's kind of part of the Trent Reznor 9 Inch Nails formula, is to have a really small sounding bass guitar, which can be literally like a guitar part, while there's a pad of low synth keyboards that are really holding down the bottom end. And I did it, and it was cool, but I still felt like the stock electronics were kind of a joke. So I went to Carrie and I said, I really wish this thing could be like a Music Man. And he's like, I make a drop-in Music Man preamp and pickup substitute electronics package. I said, no, I didn't know that. He said, you want me to do it? I said, sure. He says, yeah, but I'm going to have to cut out this huge hole in the front of the instrument. I'm like, I don't care. So he hogged out this gigantic rectangle out of the front of the thing and put his electronics in it. And now it sounds like a Music Man. That's rad. But it's got a weird kind of plinky lo-fi vibe about it still. So Carrie and I went back and forth a lot about all that stuff. And he couldn't have been more gracious about what we were trying to do with that Spectre. And even though we never really got to the finish line, I got to check out a lot of his stuff, and it's obviously all great.
He makes a killer Music Man thing. Before I was with Mike Lowell, I was with I'll just say it, I don't care. I was with Modulus, but I had this tertiary period in between where I'm like, I kind of like the sound of Music Man, these Stingrays live. And then I got a lot of more recording work. I'm like, I hate these in the studio.
They're tough. You got to really, and again, I keep coming back to Trent because, the Music Man is a big thing of his when he plays bass. If you go back to the Downward Spiral and you listen to Big Easy, the second song, which is like that, where it's just a completely broken down drum beat, his vocal and the bass, and that's all it starts off, just like, do 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 do. I mean, like, it's an unmistakable sound of bright strings on a Music Man, being played fairly carefully, and they have a kind of a rattle that it's really only them. And I remember when I got Carrie's replacement set, the very first thing that I did was I sat down and played that, and I played it with a pick, and I was just like, oh, that's it, he did it, you know. But they can be kind of a woolly beast. They can be plinky, they can be weird and kind of, you know, like woofy. They're hard to. I mean, God bless the people who really can get around them.
You're either woofy or have no balls if you went too bright with it. And I remember in the studio, and the artist is like, "That's not what I want." I'm like, "Give me a jazz bass." Okay, there we are.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I only use it for specific things. I mean, I haven't. I brought it out once live, and I think I would need to do a little bit more work on it, you know, to get the gain structure right, so that it matches my other instruments. But it could be a thing for when I'm playing it with a pick, but I think only then. And I suck with a pick anyway.
I'm not a big player either, you know. I used to do Blue Man shows with the pick, but you know, it is what it is, you know.
You're the only guy that can do it without a pick, right? Because they require it. Is that what you said?
That's right. They do require it. That's it. These fingers. That's it, man. So.
You're the chosen one.
Or the old one.
Yeah.
More like it, you know.
Yeah.
I'm the guy who stuck around. You know. Man, no, that's cool. I like hearing about what's going on, and the record, you know, so I picked up the record, you know, your record, your solo record, and it's interesting because it's nothing like the other stuff at all. You know, it's nothing like the Aristocrats, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously, you're writing for a trio, and the whole vibe of the Aristocrats, which is just fun, rambunctious, take the piss out of everything, versus this, you know, grandiose, serious statement that I was trying to make with my solo album. It's just like two different emotional worlds completely. But I think, you know, a careful listen would probably reveal some songwriting characteristics that carry over into just about everything that I do, even though the timbre and other things are.
Oh man, you can hear you. If I sit back and put on the cans, I'm like, oh, that's Bryan.
I mean, the thing is that you can't really, you know, it is what it is. You're the sum of your parts, and you are what you eat. You are what you've listened to. I've listened to what I've listened to throughout my life, and you know what comes out is a reflection of that. Whether it's writing for a trio or writing for a kind of a larger arrangement band, like I was mostly doing on this album that I just put out. But even the Aristocrats we have to be careful because eventually we have to go play that stuff live as a trio. We resolved never to use tracks.
Yeah.
Because that just goes against everything that the
whole
not that I have nothing against tracks. Believe me, if I ever tried to perform my album live, lots of tracks. Because, you know, I mean, it would have to be a 6-person band plus tracks. That's the only way it would ever happen. And I've thought about it.
The Bryan Miller Orchestra.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a big progressive thing. You know, there's no judgment here. I don't have a problem with that. But for the Aristocrats, that would be just weird.
Yeah.
So, you know, we get in the studio and we layer a little bit, but we're always trying to keep an eye on it. Like, okay, you know, what's going to happen later with this?
That's cool. I like.
Are you talking to those guys? I'm assuming you're talking to Guthrie and Marco.
Oh yeah, we're working on. Well, we just announced that we're going to be releasing a live album because, you know, we were on tour in early 2020 from January 14 to March 6. Wow. Our tour ended on March 6. Like, we went right up to the line. We got really lucky. We didn't have to cancel. We had to cancel 2 dates in Northern Italy. I was in Italy from February 13 to February 24, right when it started. I was there when it started, and we were in the north, and people were starting to talk about it. Then we went down south, did a few dates, and we were coming back up north to do the last 2 dates. And those 2 dates were the first 2 cancellation dates really in the world. Like because the northern Italian provinces basically shut down February 23rd, and that was the beginning.
Wow.
And then we had to get out of Italy really fast to make sure that we weren't going to get stuck. So, you know, but it's nice to be able to say, hey, this is a live. The album is called Freeze, Live in Europe 2020. You know, because live in 2020, it's like not everybody can say they did that.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So we pretty much just put the album to bed yesterday, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're just, you know, waiting for all that. You know, we got to output the masters get all the artwork's done, and it's going to be coming out in the next couple months. So yeah, we've been lots of emails.
Yeah.
So that's how it goes. And we got a couple other tricks up our sleeve, but I can't talk about them yet.
That's fine. That's fine, man. I mean,
awesome.
It'll be nice if you guys can start doing everything in the fall again and stuff. That would be sweet.
Well, one thing, because we did get most of the Aristocrats cycle in before the world shut down, the what came out in 2019, in summer 2019. We did North America for 8 weeks, and then we did Europe 6 weeks before the holidays, and then 6 weeks after the holidays. And then that was right up to March 6th. We never did our Asia and South America. Those runs got canceled, but we did most of what we were going to do. Joe Satriani didn't get to do anything. His album was scheduled for release on March 10, I think it was. Can you imagine? He had an album come out on March 10, and they put it out. It's a good album, and we were going to tour that album. Even though I didn't play on that album, we were going to tour it. But of course, it didn't get toured. And
it was a real bummer year. I was psyched to take Duke Battieri to Asia. We were going to do 9 days in Asia.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, that was a great thing.
Yeah. Well, everybody. I mean, I remember being over in Europe and just we were done on March 6th. I think the Trump announced the first flight travel restrictions. I think it was March 10, and then we just watched. There were some acts out there that were still going, but they just kind of fell like satellites out of the sky, one after the other, just cancel.
I think my last show was the 12th.
Yeah.
13th, that Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
And then and I remember saying, "Oh, we're going to mellow out for 3 weeks. We have this 3-week shutdown." I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is fine. 3 weeks, whatever."
Yeah. When I get back to the States, of course, having been in Italy and seeing what was starting to happen, I came back to LA and, and I don't want to get on this. God knows everybody's talked about COVID forever, but I remember coming back and, my friends at the UPS store who I go, they're like, "Oh, so what was it like?" I'm like, "Are you watching the news? Do you know what's going to happen here in about a week?" And they were just looking at me like I was nuts, like, they can't just shut everything down. I'm like, "Oh yeah." So the thing that's going to happen, because of the way that my 2 gig schedule worked out, is that when touring starts again, Joe is going to go, because Joe's the one who got shut down. And so, I think it could be a little while before the Aristocrats are back out there, because I can only be in one place at a time. And we did a whole cycle almost with the Aristocrats, and Joe hasn't gone out now since 2018. So by the time he goes out, it's we're looking at like late 21, early 22. That's 4 years. Yeah. So that's pretty brutal. But I mean, what's going to happen, of course, everybody's going to want to go out all at once the second that it's okay.
Yeah.
There's only so many venues. That math
know.
Doesn't really work.
Yeah. And maybe less because some didn't survive.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
So that's
I think the big problem is going to be there's not going to be enough places to play. Because there's going to be everyone's going to want to go out. I think the demand for live entertainment is going to be big as soon as we can do it. But the problem is, where is everybody going to play? So it's a good opportunity for people who are successful and have liquid capital to be able to maybe invest in getting a venue up and running really fast, because I think there's going to be a demand for that more than is existing at the time when the world opens back up. But that takes time.
Wow.
So we'll just
Bryan,
see how it all goes.
Let's where can we find all your socials? I mean, I know it's probably self-explanatory, but we'd like to hear from your mouth. Where can we find everything on you?
Sure. On Twitter, I'm Bryan Beller. I got in early. BryanBeller.
I'll put links, all this stuff. I'll put a little link under you, like
sure.
Magically appear.
Yeah, my website is bryanbeller.com, BryanBeller.com, and I have a web store there.
Cool.
That links to all of the, I have physical merchandise stores both in the U.S. and also in the UK, EU, although now those are 2 separate things. But yeah, there's if you're in the European mainland and you're watching this, there's a warehouse over there that you can order from and ship from, so you're not paying ridiculous shipping from the States. It links directly to my Bandcamp page, which is a great place for high-res digital audio. And then, of course, the streaming services are there. I don't judge. A lot of people just listen that way. If you want to check it out, go for it. But if you want to support the artist, then you know what to do. And so then my Facebook is Bryan Beller Bass. So it's facebook.com/Bryan Beller Bass. And my Instagram is also Bryan Beller Bass.
Cool. And then we're going to finish off with 3 questions, actually. Three. All right. Steve, start. Steve.
All right. Well, you have obviously been around. You've studied with a lot of people, but maybe somebody that's from the way past. Somebody, who would you have loved to study with that you didn't study with, living or dead?
Oh God. I would love it if I could have a series of lessons with John Scofield about this thing about improvising.
Wow, I like that.
Just to me, he's just the greatest improviser I've ever heard.
Yeah,
he's still alive.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know if his rates are reasonable or not.
We'll put it out there in the universe.
Yeah. I mean, I never really.
Yeah.
I didn't go all the way into jazz theory anyway. I mean, I know.
Did you study with Banakis at all? Charlie Banakis?
No, I never. I made a decision when I was at Berkeley. I was either going to go all the way into jazz or just keep doing kind of what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so it was just one of those things where it was like I had to really do the thing that was inspiring me. So I didn't go all the way into jazz. I'm sure that's the first thing that John Scofield would tell me. Do you really want to do this?
Well, the great thing is like his Medeski wood, all that stuff, his groove stuff. I mean, he went from Pick Hits Live to, he's gone the whole gamut. He's great, man. So
I can't remember who said it. The thing that makes John Scofield so great is that he makes, he brings complexity and depth to simple music.
Yeah.
And he brings simplicity to complex music.
Yeah. I love that.
Always tell people, if you want to what's a good, when they're getting into fusion or whatever, or some younger guys, whatever, I'm like, go back and listen to loud jazz.
Yeah.
Listen to that record.
Yeah.
My favorite, that's a great record. And of course we all grew up with that, and that Blue Matter, Electric Outlet, Still Warm, those 4 albums in a row. But, the period of his acid jazz period, where it was, A Go-Go, Bump, and Up All Night, those 3 albums.
Yeah.
Those albums. So there's.
Mine is Pick Hits Live because Granger and Dennis Chambers.
Yeah.
That's it for me. That opening fucking groove and bass lick is that's Desert Island for me.
It is fat.
So,
John, would you start with the next question? Actually.
All right. Let's see.
It might
lead.
It's
been a while.
You want me to?
All right. So along the same lines, living or dead, who would you like to sit down and have a meal with?
Anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody?
In history, whatever.
You can see the gears turning.
God, anybody.
Or we could say musician or artist in the artist.
No. Make them think.
Anybody.
Anybody? George Orwell.
Ooh. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I would want to transport George Orwell to now.
Oh, fuck that. He would shit his pants. Be like, what?
And then also, I think, any one of the founding fathers of the United States.
All right.
But transported to now.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's talk about how it turned out. Like, what do you think of this?
Yeah. Orwell would be like this. Yeah. Orwell would be like, no fucking way.
Orwell would be like, I told you, assholes.
Yeah. He would either be that way or he'd be like, I never thought it would become true. Like, Yeah. All right.
And the last question here. Who would you like to jam with? Who would you like to play with? Did I get that right, Steve?
Yes, you did, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Look at that. All 3 of them. One question each. This is the first time.
Well, I mean, Schofield will qualify for that as well.
Exactly.
I would love to just be able to play bass on a groove while he just improvised.
Oh.
But he's not the only one. I mean,
No.
I would love. I mean, if I could just play with John Bonham
another.
for a while, that would make me pretty happy.
With who?
With John Bonham.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, if I could be the bass player for one Rage Against the Machine show,
Yes.
Fair.
I like that too.
I wouldn't have to play a gig ever again.
Yeah. Let's go. Hey, Timmy, just one song.
Yeah, exactly.
One song.
I'll just plug into your rig. I won't tell anybody what that pedal does.
Exactly.
Well, he won't tell you what it does. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, just plug me in. I don't have to. I won't look at it.
I don't even have to. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. That's some good answers, man. I like it. We get some good answers.
I was not expecting the Bonham thing.
I fucking love that.
Oh, I mean, that's the big weird joke of my whole career is that my entire musicality and playing machine was designed to be a rootsy, earthy bassist. And then because of my career path, I got put onto the kind of Zappa musician path where it's always been a bit of a strange fit. I've adjusted to be able to technically accomplish what I need to be able to do most of the time to be able to keep up with the people that I've been playing with. But this car wasn't designed to drive on this racetrack. And, I always try and remember that. I try not to do more than I need to do because after all, we're playing bass anyway. And the bassists who are really, 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 really doing extended technique, they're doing it great. They don't need me trying to do it. I just want to be the John Paul Jones of my circle.
That's a good thing to aspire to be.
Yeah.
Like it. Nice.
Like it.
Yeah.
Well, boys, thanks so much.
Oh, yeah. So
thank you.
Yeah.
We're rescheduling this 5 times until we finally put it together.
This has been the most difficult scheduling one, but that's okay. I think we all hit the ball on either side of the.
We got it, man.
Isn't it weird how we have more time at home than ever, but we're busier than ever? Do you find that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's that about?
Oof.
It could be worse.
My daughters, I have 2 daughters, and they're taking more of my time now than ever.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Have you seen the articles side by side? One of them says, I think that we should work at home forever, and the other one says it's time for you to go back to work. And the one that says I think you should work at home forever was written by a dog, and the one that says that you should go back to work is written by a cat.
The cat's like, leave me just leave.
Right.
Oh man.
So as Steve says, we stop recording right now and we hang on for just a minute and
okay.
Yeah, so we say goodbye to the public,
right.
and then we talk shit afterwards amongst ourselves. So,
I can never say that line. That's
tell
Steve.
more stories that aren't fit for public consumption.
That's
Exactly. So episode 23, Big Bottom, Bryan Beller, can't thank you enough, my friend. Glad you're well, healthy, and we're going to do this again. We'll do another one on down the road.
Thank you very much for having me.
Maybe see you at NAMM 2022. Who knows?
Maybe.
All right, everyone. We'll see you guys. Hang on, guys. I'm going to stop recording.